Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. It's good to have you back. Let's get into our information today. Today's date on the dream spell is called the Red Solar Moon. The Red Solar Moon. Red is the color of initiation. The solar tone is called the solar tone of intention. And the moon is the ninth symbol. The moon is all about purification. The guide for today is the serpent. The serpent's about life force energy. Put it all together. Our phrase is, I pulse in order to purify, realizing flow. I seal the process of universal water with the solar tone of intention. I am guided by the power of life force. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is Monday, September 19th, 2011. So we've got a lot of information to catch you up on now that we're at the beginning of a new week. And of course, the comet or the topic of Elenin is one of the topics we're going to be dealing with all week long, because the time when Elenin will be making the supposed alignment it is supposed to be making as it crosses the sun, well, that is coming up fast and furious. So beforehand, we're going to address the topic. Now, before we get to that, the first information we're going to get to today has to do with Ron Paul. Ron Paul won the California straw poll, and so this is the victory speech, or part of it, that was given afterwards. So here we go. I'll be back.
To have a discussion, a real discussion of foreign policy when there's nothing but demagoguery involved. And there was a challenge in this last debate that I thought was unnecessary. And I just want to say this, that every policy, every action that the federal government takes has its risks and rewards. And if we're going to run around and pretend that there are only rewards and no risks, if you're a candidate running for office and you're going to run around and say there are only rewards and no risks for the policies and the actions that we take around the world, you're not fit to seek office. A couple of things you'll know about the 1,460 days of a Ron Paul first presidency. One, we're going to be a lot more secure and safer. Two, we're going to be back on the road to prosperity. And three, we're going to be freer and have more liberty in this country than we've had in centuries. Dr. Paul's legacy is going to be one that's going to create liberty for my daughter, your children, your grandchildren, and future generations of grateful Americans. It is my privilege and my honor to welcome future President of the United States.
Reception, and we did have one complaint. They said you guys make too much noise. That's what you're supposed to do politically. Well, anyway, it is great to be here, and it's really is very encouraging to find so much enthusiasm. So I am pleased to come and visit. We were up in Reno last night, the day before, and then flew down here this morning. But
to have
regulators, you have nationalized health care essentially, but then the regulators who represent the drug industries come in and say, oh, you want to use nutritional products and you want to take vitamins and you want to drink raw milk? No, we're not going to let you do it. If you do, we're going to arrest you. All we need is a clear understanding what personal liberty means and what it means to assume the responsibility for your own selves. That's all we need. policy, you can't change it in a day or a week or a month, but you can change the course and change the direction. Because some things have to be done over a period of time. But what they're doing now, they've had us in this recession, depression now for 4 years, if not much longer, because our economy has been going downhill for 10 years, since the year 2000. So it will take some time, but so far they will not allow the correction to happen. You know, when the Federal Reserve and the Congress does things to cause things to go out of whack and cause malinvestment, too much debt, you have to liquidate it. You got to correct it. You don't buy the bad debt from the people who've been ripping us off, dumping the debt onto the people who lose their jobs and lose their houses. Because we don't care about the poor people and we don't want to give them a house. Well, I'll tell you what, this system they've had today didn't provide very many houses for the poor people. They're the ones who are losing it. Matter of fact, a lot of people in the middle class are losing their houses as well. So the system serves the interests of the powerful and the rich and the banks and too often even foreign banks. A third of these trillions of dollars they were using to bail out the banks and the special interests went overseas. Matter of fact, our Secretary of the Treasury right now is over there trying to wheel and deal on how they're going to further diminish the value of your dollar and bail out Greece and all of Europe. Economic rules and laws are much stronger, and unfortunately, we will have to face up to this. The sooner, the better that we do that. So what should we do to get people energized again? Because the basic principle is, I believe we have a natural right to our life, we have a natural right to our liberty, and you should have an absolute natural right to keep everything you earn. What kind of sacrifice do you have to make in this correction? I don't think you have to make any. If you're willing to take care of yourself, if we give you sound money and get the economy deregulated and don't take any income tax from you, what kind of a sacrifice is that? You won't have an income tax. I mean, how will the government operate? Well, we want them to operate at a much lower level. That's change the attitude of the people and what they think the role of government ought to be. If they believe that we should be the policemen of the world and believe in the endless entitlement system, then we'll keep marching forward to total bankruptcy and probable greater authoritarianism. But if we want to change it, we really don't have to sacrifice it. Getting your liberty back is not a sacrifice. Saying that we have to have regulation.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of people.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing.
spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News for today. I've got a number of stories I think you might enjoy. First story comes to us from Poland. It is UFOs filmed over Wrocław, Poland, the 17th of September. All right, let's take a look at what this one is all about here. All right, here we go. Now, as we're looking at this, okay, we got one light. It's in the distance, but it looks like it's going a little bit back and forth. There we go. Now we got a zoom-in shot of it. And actually, it looks like it's more than just one light now. Now it looks like it's a series of lights. 1, 2, 3. It could be part of the same object, or they could be three individual lights. They just are positioned in a way that they could be edges. You know how we used to see the edges on the triangle ships? This is kind of what it looks like here, the 3 points. Alright, so there you go. That's a UFO sighting in Poland. Oh, here's another one. Must have been, this one is going across the sky from the right to the left, just on its own. And there's the ball of light floating through the sky. Alright, there is our sighting from Poland. Moving on to our next sighting. This comes to us from ABC 15. It says UFO lights in Phoenix Valley cause stir on September 17th. Alright, let's take a look at what this one is here. Alright. As you can see, we've got what appears to be 3 objects. It's hard to kind of say because they keep zooming in and out, but they look like they're objects almost streaking across the sky in one direction with a tail. But there's certainly multiple of them, and they keep, oh, this one's just kind of traveling around in circles. Very interesting show. One just disappeared. And now it just becomes a blue light. Another one disappears. This is quite interesting, whatever this might be.
Take a look. Watch the lights go in a circular motion. Our newsroom has been inundated with calls from people seeing these lights and describing the same thing. Thanks for choosing us tonight. I'm Christopher Sine. We're getting your questions answered about these lights that appeared just before 8 o'clock, and this may be nothing strange at all. Our Navita Forgani joins us live. And Navita, I took a close look at this, and what have you found out tonight?
Well, Chris, we haven't really confirmed this, but we do know there is a celebration going on in Gilbert right now. Let's take a look at that video, some of that video from earlier. Now, this is what many of our viewers were calling in about tonight. You can see 3 objects sparkling in the sky. Several pyrotechs were actually doing a performance in Gilbert tonight at the Gilbert Constitution Fair. Their display could be seen sparkling for miles. Listen to what some viewers had to say about the scene they saw tonight.
It was like an orangish thing, like coming in.
Like a meteorite.
It looked like a meteorite.
On fire. Like you could see the flames behind it, and then out of nowhere, it pretty much just disappeared, for lack of better words. We couldn't see it anymore, and then it reappeared as one big orange flaming light.
Well, Chris, these objects, these mysterious objects, could very well be skydivers at the fair, but whatever they are, they definitely spark the interest of our viewers and ourselves. Chris?
And Navita, I certainly took a close look at this myself. Looked like a group of parachuters to me, but I guess we'll wait for the official word. Navita Porgani joining us live. Navita, thank you very much.
All right. Looks like paratroopers to him, huh? And he is obviously an expert. But maybe they are. I don't know. So if you're living out there in the Phoenix area and you have any more information, let us know. FirstContactRadio.com. All right. Actually, yeah, firstcontactradio@yahoo.com. That's right. Okay. Now, the story here comes to us from the latest-ufo-sightings.net, and it goes on to say that on September 18th, a strange glowing glow lighted up the skies over Nevada, California, and Arizona. The glowing light was noticed traveling over Las Vegas. A NASA scientist thinks a little asteroid induced a glowing meteor. College of Southern Nevada Planetarium Director Dale Etheridge confirmed, saying that this was one of the most likely an asteroid fragment. Scientists suggest a small portion of an asteroid turned a meteor when it reached the atmosphere. It was something likely on the size of a golf ball or a marble, burned up and completely never reached the Earth's surface, according to Etheridge. Viewing a shooting star, quite a few made wishes. Other people still intrigued about a possible UFO encounter. Peter Davenport, director of the National UFO Reporting Center, pointed out that it is certainly very early to declare that it is a meteor. He added that one would not assume an individual seeing a meteor for 45 or 50 seconds. A number of longtime Las Vegas people may be encountering deja vu. A UFO was observed through the entire West in April of 1962. The vibrant red-colored fireball was identified as a meteorite. Some Las Vegans scared it was a guest from outer space or a lost rocket. All right. So that had to do with the sighting that took place last week. Many of you may have remembered it. It was the object that fell. It was seen across Nevada, Arizona, California. And then apparently, I think the reports was that it did land or crash or hit the ground somewhere in Southern California. Nothing did blow up, nothing of that nature that we know of, and the story just seems to have faded away. So any more that comes that way, we'll be sure to let you know. Now, the last thing we're going to get to today for the UFO news, I'm going to play part of a video I found up here at YouTube, and I thought it was very, very interesting. It's about the Dogon and the Sirius, and there's a real interesting connection. Some of you may have heard it, some of you may have not, but this is one story that certainly takes the UFO phenomena back a long, long time ago on this planet. So check this out. I'll be back, and we'll continue from there.
I've been wanting to talk with you about the Sirius mystery, and then having seen your works, The Oracles of the Dead. This is just going to be a 2-for-1 night for me personally, so I'm glad we've got you on the program. Tell me a little bit more about you beyond just what I read.
Well, I'm originally American, but I've lived in England most of my life. I grew up in Kentucky, so I'm a sort of hick, you could say, in which I take great pride because I think hicks are very good. Being one, I'd have to think that. And I had a very nice time growing up surrounded by such a beautiful place as the state of Kentucky. So that's my plug for Kentucky.
The bluegrass land, huh?
Yes, it's not blue, but it's beautiful.
Now, you are where right now as we speak to you?
I'm sitting in London, which is a place where I spend a great deal of time because I live in England.
The Sirius mystery, a tremendous story of the tribe in West Africa. How did you come upon that story to the point where you did so much research? And I've got to tell everybody, when you get a chance to read the works of Robert Temple, he not only writes it from the perspective of a researcher and author, but he actually visits and lives part of the stories that you see. And I'll talk about that when we talk about oracles, because he went on some trips that I would never go on because they would scare me to death. But how did you come across and am I pronouncing this tribe right, the Dogon tribe? Do they pronounce it like that?
Dogon.
Dogon, okay. Tell me about this story and how you became familiar with it.
Well, it was all an accident, but due to the fact that I don't like loose ends, and if something doesn't quite fit, I never give up trying to figure out what might be wrong. Somebody said something to me that was a bit off one day, and I said, hold on, that can't be true. And I began to look into it, and it resulted in that book. In fact, what happened was I was an undergraduate at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, where I went when I was 16 years old, and I knew a very brilliant man called Arthur Young, through one of my best pals at university called John Cockshall, and I used to call in on Arthur, who had a house in Philadelphia, and he was at a phase of his life then when he was sitting around reading every book he could find about African tribal mythology. And I used to tease him a bit about that. And so one day he said, I've been reading a really interesting one this time. It's a tribe who live in a country called Mali in West Africa, and they're called the Dogon. Well, in fact, he said the Dogon tribe. He made a joke about it. And I later discovered they were called the Dogon. And he said, their religion and their culture are quite different from most of the African tribes. It's based upon the star Sirius. The star Sirius, I said, come on. What do you mean their religion and their culture are based on the star Sirius? The tribe in Africa, what do they know about the star Sirius? They haven't got any telescopes there, have they? Well, of course, Sirius is a very bright star, so you don't need a telescope to see that. But he said, well, no, the strange thing is that it's not really the star Sirius that they're on about, but what they say is some sort of companion star to Sirius, which goes around it. And I knew enough astronomy to realize that there was such a thing. The astronomers call it Sirius B. In other words, the main bright star that you can see in the sky being the biggest and the brightest, they call Sirius A because it's the first.
Right.
And then the little one that you can't see, they call it Sirius B. So I said, well, Arthur, there is a Sirius B, and it is small and you can't see it as far as I know. I'll have to go check. But how could a tribe in Africa have their whole religion and culture based on anything as weird as that? Oh, I don't know, he said, and then he moved on to the next tribe. Well, I wasn't satisfied, and I started looking into this, not immediately, but a bit later on, and discovered that this was not only true, but the tribe admitted that they had never actually seen this little star, because you can't see it without at least a 15-inch telescope, and of course they didn't have them. And they knew its exact orbital period. Well, they admitted that they knew the orbital period of something they couldn't see.
Amazing.
It was 9 light years away. So what's going on here? And this is how the whole thing began.
Is the tribe still in existence, Robert?
Very much so, although they're under a great deal of pressure from two sources. One, the government of Mali is run by very earnest Muslims, and they want the Dogon to convert to Islam. Of course, everybody's supposed to convert to Islam, so you better get ready, George. But the Dogon are being pressured to give up all these traditional beliefs, which make the Muslims who run the country very nervous. Because, well, everything makes Muslims nervous that isn't in the Quran or the Hadith. So the Dogon can't really get jobs or anything like that unless they first convert and thereby give up these amazing traditions, which are the basis of my book. So, of course, that makes me very unhappy. But the other thing that's putting them under even more intense pressure is the terrible drought in the Sahel region of Africa.
Oh, yeah, my God, yes.
And there's just such a shortage of water. And since the Dogon live by growing onions, even though onions don't take a great deal of water and are quite happy in fairly dry conditions, if you haven't got any water, you haven't got any onions, and therefore you haven't got a life.
How many members of the tribe are out there, Robert? Approximately.
Well, I'm afraid I can't tell you that. That's a very interesting question, George, and you're the first person who's ever asked me that, and which goes to show how sharp you are. But
all right, we're going to leave that one right there. That was George Nuri and Robert Temple, and they were talking about the Sirius mystery. Now, there's 4 parts to this, so I've got this first one linked up at our page there. You just follow the link on the right-hand side of the page, UFO News. You'll see the story up there today. Click on it, it'll take you to YouTube, and you got all 4 parts available right there, so you can check the whole mystery out for yourself. Listen to the whole thing. All right? That is our UFO news report for today. I'm going to jump over to a song, and when I get back, we're going to continue on with more news and information. Stay tuned.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947.
One day, I was looking to the sky. I saw it. Up above the clouds, it was a silver shiny disc floating high above the ground. Then I saw them waving to me. It was E.T. and his family. Something happened up the safe underground. Through the sky, it shot the UFO down. Roswell, he didn't make it home. Roswell, he didn't make it home.
The Army Air Force has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
One day, I was looking to the sky. I saw a UFO shot down. It was a silver shining disc broken in pieces on the ground. Then I saw them lying there, bodies scattered everywhere. Something happened, a military show, picked up the pieces, and the case was closed. Roswell, he didn't make it home. Roswell, he didn't make it home.
Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio.
One day, as I was looking to the sky, I began to think for myself, what if another ship comes down to take E.T. home? Then it occurred to me, maybe this is Earth's destiny. Something like this won't happen anymore. No more missiles, no more UFOs down. Roswell, he didn't make it home. Roswell, he didn't make it home.
Headline edition will bring you special reports and interviews in a moment.
That was Roswell by Ufotry. And yes, that was me. That is, Alright. Our first story up is Ron Paul again. Now, we started off with Ron Paul. You saw some of his speech there at the straw poll. Well, Ron Paul won, and let me give you a breakdown of this. Says the Congressman Ron Paul is the winner of the 2012 straw poll. Here's a few breakdown of the results copied below. A total of 833 ballots were cast during the 2011 straw poll, which included a write-in opportunity for the first time. The 2011 California straw poll was held Saturday, September 17th between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., where CRP members, associate members, and registered guests were allowed to choose their favorite from among the 11 official Republican presidential candidates. Here is the breakdown. Congressman Ron Paul had 44.9% of the vote, or 374 votes. Following in second place was Governor Rick Perry with 244 votes, or 29.3%. Third place was Mitt Romney with 74 votes, and that was 8.8%, followed by Michelle Bachmann, 64 votes, 7.7%. John Huntsman, 17 votes, 2%. Herman Cain, 15 votes. Newt Gingrich, 14 votes. And then there was Thad McCotter at 7, Rick Santorum, Gary Johnson 2, Fred Karger 1, and 15 votes for write-ins. So that's what went down at the straw poll today. Ron Paul is having what they call their super bomb, which is there's no contribution limits. You can go to revolutionpac.com. Revolution, REVOLUTIONPAC.com, and there you will be able to get involved in how you could contribute to the Ron Paul campaign. All right? Very good, very good. Now, over the course of the weekend, we had a number of earthquakes. We had a big earthquake, 6.9, that took place in India the other day. And then, as you can see, we had another bunch of 5-pointers. Japan is still getting hit with earthquakes every day. They're hit with something, it seems. And then Puerto Rico, as you can see, had a lot of them. Today, the earthquakes are all as they normally have been these last couple of months. 3s, 4s, 5s. Alright, and let's take a look at our space weather for today. Space weather shows us that we have a re-entry alert. NASA reports that UARS, the atmospheric research satellite the size of a small bus, will enter Earth's atmosphere on September 23rd, plus or minus 1 day. Now, not all of the spectacularly disintegrating spacecraft will burn up in the atmosphere. Debris could be scattered along a ground track some 500 miles long. Because of the rapid evolution of the UARS decaying orbit, the location of the debris zone is not yet known. A NASA risk assessment places the odds of a human casualty at 1 in 3,200. For last chance sightings of UARS, check the simple satellite tracker or download the satellite flyby for your smartphone. And down here we could see that there's very low chance of a geomagnetic storm today. So what has taken place last week with the solar flares that we talked about have had their main impact for the moment and have dwindled. And so, hey, so if you're a betting person, you can, we now have numbers, 1 in 3,200. So if it's not your lucky day and you're 1 in 3,200, you might get hit with a piece of falling debris from the UARS satellite. So let's hope that you are not one of those, and let's hope that no one gets hit and everything falls safely to the ground. Now, the big topic that has been going on for a while has been Elenin. And here we are in the time zone when we are supposed to experience more of what Elenin is all about. So let me refresh your memory on this. On the 11th of the month, Elenin was supposed to have come to its closest place to the sun. However, that did not occur till 3 days later because for some strange reason Elenin slowed down. And then on the 19th, there was an earthquake that took place in India. Actually, it was not on the 19th, it was the 18th. A 6.9 took place in India, which is listed on this chart here as a connection. It says equidistant from the sun, and 0.523 AUs from the Earth, and the maker of this graph suggests that those two events are related. All right, our next time coming up is this week. You can see here September 21st to 22nd. We got September 25th, and then the 26th through the 27th. Now, as you remember, because things did slow down, there are a couple days that are off. So the days in here might be a little bit later than what they're originally projected. But what does all of this mean? Well, I read you an article here that Obama has been ordered to the Denver bunker by the U.S. military. So during that phase of time that we're looking at right here, when the Earth, the Sun, the Moon, and Elenin are in supposed alignment, Obama is going to be in a bunker. And just to refresh your memory, it says a disturbing report prepared by General Alexei Mazalov, the senior military representative of the permanent mission of Russia to NATO, states that he has been notified by the Americans of their plans to hold a DEFCON 1 cocked pistol maximum readiness alert drill on September 27th, which will be overseen by President Obama at one of the United States' most secure bunkers located beneath the Denver International Airport. Under the SALT, Strategic Nuclear Arms Control Agreement, signed between Russia and the United States, both parties are required to notify the other in all cases of such a maximum readiness drills occurring, but are not required to state their reasons for doing so. General Mazalov states in the report that although his concern over this drill is heightened due to last month's nuclear attack on the CIA branch of the intercontinental military tunnel complex between Washington, D.C. and Denver, which we reported on the 24th. Okay, so it's very interesting that this article here, according to them, that they are aware, the Russians, General Mazalov is aware of what took place, and they chalk it up as a nuclear incident in the CIA portion of the tunnels. Yet here in the States, we are told that it was an earthquake. Well, yes, that was the result. Apparently, the ground quaked because a nuclear bomb went off before that, underground somewhere, and rocked the entire eastern seaboard, so it appeared. So, in addition to them, let's look at this here. There's another interesting article that's taking place during that same time period. This comes from ascendingstarseed.wordpress.com. They say, I have yet to confirm that Obama has been ordered to the military underground bunker. Well, I just read that. But here's some other interesting coincidences. It says, world leaders will be in recess during Elenin's alignment on the 26th to 27th. In a strange coincidence of anomalies, many world leaders and politicians will be in recess during the next alignment with common Elenin. The United Nations has an empty schedule from September 23rd through October 10th. The UK Parliament is in recess from September 15th to October 10th. The United States Congress is on vacation from the 25th through October 2nd. Germany's president's schedule is empty after the 25th of September. And in a related story, there are many conferences in Colorado where one of the world's largest, deep underground military bunkers is located. We have the 2011 ACE National Conference on Energy Efficiency as a resource. That is one of these. We have the Coca-Cola Company, NatureWorks, and Cereplast headline for the Biopolymers Symposium, the 26th to the 28th. The Control Logics and RS Logics 5000 Training Seminar, the 27th through 9th. IEEE GreenCom, Homeland Security Symposium, Bipolar Polymer Symposium, Strategies for Justice Conference, Kinetico Connection in Denver, EcoSys Enterprise Planning and Controls, the Annual Educational Networking Conference, and then NASA will be in there with the International Space Station events. All of these taking place during the same time period. The article goes on to say the disturbing report prepared by General Alexei Mazalov, the senior military representative of the permanent mission of Russia, states that they have been notified, as I just read you, about the plans of America to go to DEFCON 1. Something is happening. Something is happening, and it's taking place now. So I don't claim that I know exactly what's going to go on with this event. But I do tell you that we're all going to be okay. We're going to make it through this, whatever it may be. I don't see this as a big global disaster that's going to knock us out of any sort of alignment. I don't have any kind of warning bells going off inside my head telling me to run, get out of California where I am. And I don't see this as a big problem that they are talking about. Now, I may be wrong, and we may be hit by a big rock and everyone is wiped off the face of the earth. Maybe. I don't get that feeling, though. I'm not the only one. I know there are others. However, there is a lot of gloom and doom out there and a lot of strange talk about what's going on with Elenin. I wanted to play for you this video here because this shows some of the different anomalies and things of which I'm talking about. And some of the things that you're going to hear and read about are different ways in which the data is being interpreted. So it's not cut and dry. There's not one set of information that's given out. There's a lot of apparent clues that we have about the situation, but we're really not going to know what happens and what is going to be going on with this until actually the event takes place, which is now. The big alignment is around the 27th. That is next week on, Tuesday? Yeah, next Tuesday is the 27th. So we're in the time period, my friends, where this next 10 days, we're going to find out how serious this issue with Elenin is, and we should be able to see it at some point in time. We should be able to hear a lot more about it, and if it's truly affecting us the way they say it's going to affect us, then there will be an increase in earthquakes and perhaps other crazy weather patterns. We're going to find out. In the meantime, I'm going to quit rambling here, and I'm going to let you check out this video, see what you think about this. All right. Starts off by saying, all right, this comes to us from Bluefire, BLUEPHIRE. All right, here we go. Just when you thought Elenin Matrix couldn't get any more bizarre, yet another strange anomaly surfaces, adding more fuel to the conspiracy pyre. And this time there seems to be a tiny weeny discrepancy with Elenin's orbit diagram. Now, most of you probably know about and have utilized a primary diagram from JPL. While others might be using the alternative Navy version. But there's one lesser known diagram that exists over at elenin.org. As far as I know, this can only have been derived and based on JPL's data. Or in other words, this particular diagram and its data originated from JPL, NASA. And I assume can only be altered, updated, and changed by JPL, since after all this diagram is from or created from the authority of NASA. And even has a direct link to the NASA diagram it came from. In fact, Elenin.org clearly states this. Estimated NASA trajectory as of March 30th, 2011, which is now the same input data date that NASA diagram also agrees with. With that said, JPL's diagram has the same perihelion data now as it did on August 11th. This was old orbital data in August, just before Elenin.org updated to JPL. Note the position of Elenin on August 15th was set at the perihelion at Elenin.org. And this was Elenin.org's orbital data after they changed it around August 16th. You'll notice that Elenin moves backward after this change. What's the big deal? Well, if the orbital data is the same now as it was August 16th, this suggests it hasn't been changed for a month, which begs the question, why? So if you go to elenin.org and plot the same data for 9/11, it's the same as JPL's diagram. The problem is that back on August 15th, Elenin.org didn't have the same data. Or in other words, its perihelion data wasn't what it is now, which is strange. Because back in August, Elenin.org had orbital data that put Elenin in a different perihelion date. Notice anything odd? The major discrepancy puts Elenin's perihelion in contradicting data points. The JPL Navy diagram put Elenin at perihelion on 9/11 in this position. Well, Elenin.org shows Elenin in this position during JPL's perihelion data. WTF. Now keep in mind, JPL's data has and still has the same data date as Elenin.org. And Elenin.org is from NASA, and both appear to have the same March input data. That puts Elenin at perihelion aligned with the Sun and the Earth at 9/11 at Elenin.org. So how did Elenin.org show Elenin near alignment with Earth-Sun around 9/11? If JPL NASA shows an Elenin Earth-Sun alignment on the 27th. Why then were they showing different data and orbital plots for Elenin? Which diagram was correct or is correct? Because Elenin.org was changed after these screenshots were captured off their site. However, the problem is that even though they changed their data to match JPL, in August, Elenin.org had Elenin here on the 27th of September instead of aligned with the Earth and the Sun. So the first big conundrum for Elenin.org and NASA is that they have to explain not only why their diagrams were different in August, but they have to explain why their orbital data for the perihelion hasn't changed either. Now you might be asking yourself, what's the big deal and why is this important? Well, if you look really closely at the diagram from Elenin.org, you'll notice Elenin is near an earlier alignment with Sun and Earth. Except this alignment on the NASA diagram doesn't occur until around September 27th. Again, you might be scratching your head saying, okay, so what? Well, for those that don't know, remember what happened on 3/11/11, a lot of really, really bad things happened. A lot of people died. The event was also caused the worst nuclear disaster in human history. And oh yeah, one more thing happened that day. The Earth was knocked off its axis for the second time during this alignment phase. So on 3/11/11, Elenin came into unique alignment with the Earth and the Sun, which according to NASA's diagram is supposed to occur again around September 27th. But the Elenin.org diagram is different and puts Elenin here on 9/11/11. So, which will be almost the same alignment phase during the Chile megaquake of 2010. The same phase that happened during the huge 2010 quake that hit Christchurch. And the same alignment phase during the mega 9.2 quake that hit Japan on 3/11. In other words, according to Elenin.org's diagram, JPL 927 alignment is wrong and could only mean one thing. Elenin.org's diagram would put Elenin's Sun-Earth alignment earlier, several days earlier, which could move this key alignment timeline up 2, 3, or even more days. So instead of Elenin being aligned with the Sun and the Earth on the big date of 9/27, the date could be moved up to 9/25 or 9/23, or worst case, 9/19. So the question is, did NASA change their data? I guess we'll find out in 5 days. Alright, so as you gather from that information there's a lot of discrepancy that is going on. Even the two websites that have data from both NASA and JPL don't match. So what's going to happen, my friends? What's going to happen? One of the dates he just suggested was the 19th. That's today. The other dates suggested are the 23rd, 25th, 27th. All of these days occur within this next week of time. So, are we about to get hit on this planet again with another big quake or something going on? Well, let's take one real quick look at what's going on with HAARP at the moment. How about that? Let's not let them off the hook. Now, as you can see here, there is some sort of activity taking place. This isn't quiet. There's these little things, and usually I've been tracking, and people have been tracking, when I've seen these types of little markings down here like this, usually there's some sort of heavy weather that comes with it. Tornadoes pop up somewhere doing these type of patterns. But this is far from being a completely black, dark pattern. This is a pattern where something is going on. So, what is really happening? Is there really an alignment? Is Elenin really at stake? Is causing these problems? Or is there something a bit more than meets the eye? And that is why Obama is being called to the bunker. You know, we have a story from the Russian government which says there was a nuclear explosion under the ground. Here in the States, they tell people it was an earthquake. You know, where do you know, how do we understand what's what if the leaders aren't going to let others know? Which they certainly aren't. We know this well enough by now. So, anyway, that's what we're dealing with. And we're going to do a meditation right now. So, let's jump to there. Alright, my friends, close your eyes. Close your eyes and relax. Close your eyes and relax, because though there are challenges going on, the world is not ending at this moment, so we can take a few of these moments out to gather our minds, focus our attention, Let's start off by making sure all of our chakras are activated, starting with the chakra at the bottom of the spine. The color is red. Go ahead and let the energy from the earth draw itself up into that chakra. Imagine the color red, and then let the energy raise up from the bottom of the chakra to the chakra above it, and the color is orange. From that second chakra, the orange chakra, raise the energy up to the chakra above it, to the chakra just below the rib cage. The color is yellow. From the yellow chakra, raise the energy up a bit higher to the heart space, to the green heart chakra. Imagine the color green. And then allow the energy to raise up even higher to the chakra above it, which is the chakra of the throat. And imagine the color blue. Now raise the energy up from the throat to the third eye, just between the two eyebrows. Imagine the color violet. And finally raise the energy to the crown chakra, the chakra on the top of your head. Imagine the color indigo and allow the energy to keep flowing upward. Turns into bright white light as it hits the cosmos. And there you are, connected above and below, below and above. And in between, there you are, a child of the earth and the sky. The multicolored energy of all of your chakras flows through your body. Feel the energy surging through you. See the multicoloredness of all of this energy. And then let it overflow your body. And as it overflows, take a look around and see this line of light that glows outward. And as you extend this light of protection out around you, know that this energetic protection is something here for you to use. And send this energy of protection out around your space, around you, around your home, throughout your city, around your neighborhood, your state, your country, across the sea to the other countries, and back again. Let's imagine sending this light of protection down into the earth to strengthen the earth, to help it through these times that it is going through. And let us send this additional light up into the cosmos. Send it up to help protect our planet by keeping out the bad, while at the same time allowing whatever bad is on the planet to drift out and float and dissipate as well. Imagine sending light out around the planet that allows any negative energies that hit us to turn to love, so that the planet is dosed with loving energy. And last, imagine from your heart space that you are sending out love all across the planet. Imagine the color green just going out from your entire being and slowly working its way around until the whole planet is engulfed in love. Feel the love that is being sent from all the others who are doing the same thing at this exact moment. And know that they are feeling the love that you are sending out as well. Focus this love down into the earth, and then focus it up to the cosmos. Let the space brothers and space sisters out there know that you are sending love their way as well, and you appreciate that they are here during these times to assist us with this graduation that we are going through. Now, let's think a good thought for everybody in the world. These events going on are big events. They can bring fear to a lot of people on this planet. They bring fear through all the news and the stories that is going on. No one is immune, but we are all in this together. So let's imagine us all holding hands all around the world in unity, in oneness. And as we join hands, we're able to overcome whatever fears we have. And as we send love to those fears dissipate. And our eyes become open to understand the bigger picture in store for all of us. Now, holding all these thoughts in mind, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment. We'll do so on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. That, my friends, is our meditation for today. That is our show. I appreciate you being here. We're all going to make it through this. We got some challenges ahead of us. You know, this is a graduation time for us here on the planet. We're moving up to another level. So let's not look at these experiences and events that we're about to go through as something bad, but that's something that's going to challenge us to rise to another level. Let's see what these experiences bring out of us, because during times like this is where you really understand what a person is all about, their integrity and so on. So, that's all I've got to say for today. It's been a pleasure. I'll be back again tomorrow with more news and information. Till then, you be safe. I'll talk to you later. Peace. I'm out of here.